I'm now back in the UK after a lovely week in Tenerife. Needless to say, it was an awful lot warmer. I forgot to put the heating on last night, so I was a little bit chilly when I woke up this morning. But I'm all packed up and ready to go down to Windsor Great Park to Cumberland Lodge, which is an education charity that I'm a scholar for. I thought it might be nice for this blog to take you down with me and to find out a little bit more about the work of the lodge and the great activities that they run in an effort to tackle unfairness and inequality in society. So, let's go. Brilliant. So Cumberland Lodge as a building has an awful lot of history. Walking into it, it kind of feels a bit like what I should imagine Harry Potter felt like when he was going into Hogwarts. It's very, very posh, and it's absolutely amazing with its high ceilings and its fireplaces. Just a lovely place to be. It was built in the 1600s, and up until 1947, the lodge was the resident for essentially the hand of the king. I think they called him the Windsor Park Ranger, but it was like the Queen's best mate got, or the King's best mate at the time, got the lodge, and it was a kind of official royal residence, which means that people have lived here, like Sarah Churchill, who I know has been, in movies recently, and a lot of really, really impactful and interesting conversations were had at the lodge kind of during that period. In 1947, the lodge was given to a lady called Amy Buller, and Amy Buller went over to Germany prior to the outbreak of the Second World War and examined the social conditions that led to the rise of fascism and Hitler at the time. Amy Buller's book was released and received an awful lot of attention from the press at the time. It received a lot of attention within academic circles as well, and led to Amy Buller being invited to Windsor Palace to have a conversation with the King and the Queen. Off the back of this conversation, Amy Buller was asked what she could do to counter some of these really, really important issues that were facing not just Germany, but also, society at large. And the answer that she came up with was that she would like to start an education charity, which later became Cumberland Lodge. Now, in my role as a Cumberland Lodge scholar, essentially I come down here for a variety of different events. The next one I'm coming down to is in March, and it's going to be around identities and work. The theme of the lodge this year and the conversations that happen are all around identities and belonging, which, it's pretty self-explanatory, is very important when you are looking at creating a fairer, more equal, more inclusive society. It does a lot of work for PhD students as well. So if you're watching this and you're currently studying for a PhD, it doesn't matter what discipline at all that it's in. So if it's in social sciences or kind of the hard sciences or business or economics, it doesn't matter. They've got a Life Beyond PhD conference that lasts for about a week, and it's in September, that is filled with really, really useful sessions about what your future could look like post PhD and post kind of this research journey that we're all on. On top of that, like I mentioned, they offer scholarships. Usually there's around kind of 6 or 7 of these a year, and it's an opportunity to work closely with the lodge towards some of those objectives with regard to making a fairer, more equal, more inclusive society. Applications for scholarships are open at the moment as well, so they are looking to recruit their next batch of scholars to start in September, and I would really, really, really recommend that anyone applied for it. It's something that I'm finding very valuable and very rewarding, not only because you get to meet a lot of like-minded people with similar interests with regard to creating a better world for us and the people that might come in the future, but also because it provides a really, really great platform to meet with key people who might be involved in policy or practitioners that are involved in, directing third sector organisations that can have a real impact and make a real change. So in the comment section below, I'll drop a link to the Cumberland Lodge website and the page where you can find out more about this. But as somebody that's doing their kind of Cumberland Lodge scholarship thing at the moment, I would heartily recommend making an application. And it doesn't matter which institution you're from across the country as well. Like, I'm doing my PhD with the University of Wolverhampton, but we've got other scholars here that are from kind of Oxbridge and Durham and Queen's University in Belfast. So there's a real mix. And the only real criteria that I would say is caring about conducting research and engaging in conversations that can create a better world for the next generation of people that come into it. So what I'd like to do afterwards, or next time I'm down, is possibly have a conversation with some of the staff that work at Cumberland Lodge, and they can go a little bit more in depth with regard to the lodge's history and stuff. It's a weekend at the moment, and I'm doing this on a Sunday, so unfortunately they're not around. And you are stuck with my version, which is fine, but there are people that know an awful lot more about the work that the lodge does and are probably more articulate than I am in terms of really getting to grips with the core issues. I guess in conclusion for this vlog, what I really want to say is Cumberland Lodge is brilliant and applications for the scholarship are open, and everybody should definitely chuck in an application. This is probably going to be the first of quite a few vlog posts from down at Cumberland Lodge, because I try and get down here as much as I can to have those types of conversations and to really get engaged with the work that Cumberland Lodge does. Next week, I think I'll probably focus on something a little bit different with the vlog, and it's going to be more geared towards perhaps students that are thinking of applying to university. One of the most difficult bits that people find with the application process is writing a really good personal statement to support the UCAS application. I've been working for about 10 years in the higher education sector now for Birmingham City University and then the University of Southampton, and have been engaged in activity to widen access to higher education or to encourage applications from students who perhaps wouldn't necessarily have been thinking about university. And one of the parts of the process that is perhaps most difficult is the UCAS application and writing a really good statement about yourself that's going to support whatever your predicted grades are or your references from teacher. So next week I'm going to focus a little bit on that. And so it's my objective with these vlogs to be as helpful and impartial as I possibly can, and offer useful practical tips that I've picked up along the way over my 10 years kind of working in this sector. So next week is going to be very much focused around some hints and tips towards writing a great personal statement, which is such an important part of the university application process. So I'm planning hopefully to do that maybe next Friday or something, so it shouldn't be too long before you see me again. If you found Cumberland Lodge interesting, like I mentioned, there's going to be the link that I'll put in the comment section, so check it out. If you've got any questions about the lodge or the scholarship in general and want to have a chat with me about it, it's absolutely fine. I'm at EduDetective on Twitter, and I'm more than happy to share my experiences so far and perhaps have a chat about why it's a good thing to do. So that's it for this week, and I'll see you again soon.